If your fingers have been hitting more than one string and you just cannot seem to get a clean sound, you're in the right place. I'm Samantha, welcome back to the Harp Studio, and today I'm going to show you the same tricks that I've been teaching my students over the last 10 years that fixes this problem every time. There's a few things that might be happening here, and the first one you're going to want to check is the angle of your fingers. If your fingers are pointing towards the wall or they're angled quite horizontally, that can cause you to hit extra strings because the path that your finger is going to take to get into your palm goes straight past another string. All you really need to do here is just change the angle of your fingers a little bit. So leave your thumb where it is, and we're going to angle the fingers so they're pointing kind of where the floor meets the wall. So not straight down or something like that, but just like a little bit less horizontal, a little bit more downwards. If that didn't fix your problem, don't worry. You might just need to think a little bit more about the direction that you're playing your fingers. So if your fingers are already angled diagonally downwards, then what we want to do is imagine an invisible line between your fingertip and where it's going to land on your palm. And that line should be angled downward, back, and outward away from the strings, and it shouldn't intersect with any other strings. Then when you play, just try to imagine your fingertip following that line, and it should make it into your palm without hitting any other strings. If you're still having trouble, let's double check a couple of things with your hand position. First, let's make sure you haven't put too much of your finger through the string. If you've got too much of the squishy part of your finger past the string, that's going to make it harder to play the string, and then you might be kind of pulling extra hard to get your finger past, and then hitting an extra string in the process. What I usually recommend for finger placement is kind of like halfway between the squishiest part of your finger and the edge of your finger. So we're still in a soft part, but there's not so much of the squishy part of the finger that it's going to be hard to play. Next, we want to make sure you've got at least a little bit of curve in your fingers. So if your fingers are collapsing, that could result in, because this last section of finger is not really being controlled, you can see that kind of the direction that my finger is going to follow here is straight into the string behind it. To fix this, we just want to keep a little bit of curve in those fingers there. The other thing that can happen is if your finger is too straight, so this often happens with the fourth finger. So let's say I'm trying to play this chord. If my fourth finger is really, really straight, it's sticking straight out, it can be hard to get leverage on that finger and play. And then if you don't have leverage, it's hard to control the angle and blah, blah, blah. You may end up hitting extra strings. Then we're thinking, okay, well, how am I supposed to curve my finger if my finger's just not long enough? It's okay, even if you have short fingers, you can still do this. All you need to do is change the positioning of your palm. Basically, what we need to do here is position the palm so that it's sort of more between the thumb and the fourth finger as opposed to kind of sitting farther back closer to the thumb. If you notice right now, while my fourth finger is very straight, my palm is kind of sitting pretty far back here by my thumb, and my fingers are kind of reaching forward away from the palm. So what I want to do is shift the palm forward a little bit more so that the fingers are kind of curling back in front of themselves rather than reaching away. And that fourth finger is going to get a little bit of curve in it. You can kind of see that there. And that's going to be a lot easier to play. Now, if you move your hand farther forward and you feel like there's not enough room for your fingers, then what you need to do is just kind of bring your palm farther away from the strings, right? So rather than being like pressed right up against the strings, yeah, that's not enough room. You just have to lift your hand away from the strings a little bit more so that you can be farther forward with your palm without scrunching right up against them. Hand position is one of the biggest factors in hitting extra strings, so watch this video next to make sure you're not making any of the biggest mistakes that could be holding back your progress. And make sure to sign up for my email newsletter to get more free harp tips straight to your inbox. Thanks for watching, and happy harping!